Live.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Still Talking Uncut. I'm your fill-in host for the night, Uncle Joey. Down in the bottom, I got Matt Lee Master. And from Indian Creek, we are very, very honored to have Mr. Joe Dewar. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yes, welcome.
Yes.
Well, you got a beautiful place down there. Why don't you tell us all about it?
Yeah.
All right. Sure will. Yeah, we're focusing obviously on whiskey here, but even to a greater extent, history. As you probably know, and maybe some of your viewers know, the history goes way back, well beyond 200 years here on the farm. The Staley family history and the Staley distilling history. And they started distilling here on the farm in 1820. And the family distilled through 3 generations until obviously Prohibition, 1920. And this particular farm is what was known at the time as an agricultural industrial complex. That means basically it was an operating farm, but it also had 3 commercial operations here. One being a grist mill for the processing of grain, and of course the distillery, and a water-powered sawmill. So all 3 of those businesses were complementary one to another. For example, the miller, the guy operating the grist mill, needed a way to get rid of excess grain, which he often had. That, of course, would be a distillery, because a distillery needs a lot of processed or ground grain so that we can access the starch in the grain, convert to sugar, sugar to alcohol, obviously. And then also the water-powered sawmill figured in there because obviously they were great consumers of wood. They fired their stills with wood, and they needed a lot of wood for barrels. They aged and matured their whiskey. They had a warehouse, which they called a bond house, because obviously they had to pay a bond on their whiskey to ensure payment of excise tax after that was passed during the Civil War. And so they also had the capability of cutting wood for people that were establishing themselves, settling in this area, constructing their buildings, their farmsteads, etc. So a very busy place for over 100 years until that fateful day that we're all familiar with, known as Prohibition, 1920. 1920, the last distiller here would be my wife, Missy's great-grandfather, because this is my wife, Missy's family farm. She is 6th generation here. So the last distiller in 1920, George Washington Staley, had the sad duty of closing the family business. And when he closed the distillery, he also closed the other businesses here, grist mill, sawmill, because not only were they complementary businesses, and you take one part of that equation away, the other parts don't work. I think equally important, by 1920, everything here was severely outdated. Even by the mid-1800s, most people had converted their grist mills from water power to steam power. Also, the sawmills were converted to steam power, which was much more efficient. And even the distilling method was outdated. And so what we've done here, due to the ability to create a distillery in Ohio, which was not always possible, since we had the family history here, the family continuity, we also had the original equipment. The stills you see behind me are the original 1820 pot stills that Missy's third great grandfather, Elias Staley, started with here in 1820. And when George Staley closed the distillery in 1920, he took the stills out of their original fireboxes, their brickwork, and took the stills and the cooling coils out of the condensing tubs, all the hand tools, and anything pertaining to distillation, hid it all away in the warehouse that sat directly behind the original distillery. And that's where everything remained from 1920 until 2011, when we had this new distillery constructed, and brought everything over and from across the road, because the road splits our property here. So we have property south of the road, north of the road. So we constructed the new distillery on the south part of the farm. We brought everything over, cleaned it up, had the brick masons brick the stills into their original firebox configuration, built new tubs for the condensing coils, and put everything back to work. And all the product that we produce here, the product we sell here at the distillery, which consists of 2 rye products, 4 bourbons, a maple whiskey, and a barrel-aged gin. All that's made right here in the stills that you see behind me, which are the oldest operating stills in the U.S. 1820 pot stills, been on the farm since they were constructed.
That's pretty awesome.
Wow.
So obviously,
you have a beautiful place there too, by the way. That grounds is amazing.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, what we're doing, what I mentioned earlier, is we are focusing on the history, which of course is verifiable here, being passed down through the family, through Missy, who's 6th generation. And fortunately for us, the Staleys were people that literally kept everything. And that sounds like a slight exaggeration, but trust me, it's not. We have all the paperwork, the ledgers from all their businesses here that they operated, and we know who they sold whiskey to and for how much and when, who they cut wood for, who they ground grain for. So a tremendous amount of continuity here through the family, having Staleys reside on the farm for 6 generations.
So I have a question. I don't mean to interrupt you real quick. So when you decided to open up the distillery, did you have any extra? I mean, I hear nowadays it's not very easy to open up. How was it when you opened up the distillery? Was it fairly easy? Was it a process? Was there much involved with it?
Well, yes, on several fronts. One, of course, we had to have a new building constructed, which is the building I'm in right now. Yeah. This is a full 2-story building. First floor, of course, is the still room where we are. We have a bottling room behind me. We have a retail room and so forth. We have 2 rick houses we had constructed. And so there was that. We had to determine approximately what size of building we needed and how we needed it configured. And then not ever having, basically not even ever being in a still house before, that was somewhat of a challenge. We were fortunate in locating a Amish design build group that got our concept on paper, and they were able to construct the building, which we had them do to replicate the old buildings on the farm, because we have a 1857 barn, we have an 1825 house, and some other outbuildings, some of the original still house buildings. So fortunately, they were able to duplicate that look of those old buildings to get the proper proportions, etc. That process took a little bit over a year to get that accomplished. And then on the other side of the coin was obviously the state and federal government dance that we did, which was actually not, I wouldn't term it difficult. It was time consuming. A lot of paperwork. Back then, the federal government, the TTB, they weren't equipped to file paperwork, et cetera, online. So we had to do everything snail mail and fill the paperwork out, send it to Washington, and have them peruse our paperwork and send it back with needed corrections, obviously, which happened several times. That process basically was only about 6 months. Then next would be the state, which really was not a problem also. Not quite as time consuming, but with the state here in Ohio, you have to have everything in place and basically operational before you get your permit to distill. And obviously you can't distill until that time. And so there's a lot riding on that okay when they check that box that you're okay to distill.
Right.
So that was the only actual in-person inspection we had. I have not seen a federal person ever. And the state did their inspection to see that we were operational. And that was a little bit confusing to them because of the method we use of distillation. We do not have a column still here. We don't have computers, push buttons, and all kinds of those things. We have 2 very old pot stills that we double distill everything, like the Staleys would have in their distilling history here. So the whole process, as I mentioned, was time consuming, not especially daunting. But we had a lot riding on that okay from the feds and from the state. And fortunately that worked. And we've been going great guns ever since.
And it seems like each year you add more to what you've got going out there. You guys, you continue to make the experience even better for the consumer, for the visitor. I know the weather just did a little number on your little moonlight walk that you guys were supposed to have. I mean, the grounds is amazing. Unfortunately, I'm just now stumbling upon your place. So now I've got some catching up to do. So you're probably going to see my face probably around quite often this summer because, I mean, the first trip I made out there. I
apologize for that.
Yeah, the first trip I made out there, I was just kind of taken back by it's just a very...
It's a step back in time.
Yeah, man, it really does. It kind of takes you back. You know, it makes you understand what I'm looking at. You feel that when you walk in that room. You really do. You did a wonderful job bringing that to that room that everything sits in.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, well, a lot of that would be due to my wife, Missy. She's the decorator, and also she designed all of our labels for our product, which she's very talented and skillful in doing, and has done a wonderful job in that respect. And as far as adding to here, we've realized the importance through the years. So we've been open since December of 2012, and we've realized the importance of involving people and having them enjoy the grounds here. This is a 160-acre farm, and we have 120 acres of woods, and thus the moonlight stroll that you referenced. We have paths that we've cut through the woods, and to make that available for people. We have music events here during the warm weather months, of course, outdoor events, which those are very well received. And we have outdoor meals. We have campfire cocktails that's very well attended. And we've slowly added things over the years to see what works, what doesn't work, what people like, and so on and so forth. We have During cold weather, we'll have a couple of indoor events, one being a sip and smoke. That's a drink and cigar night. And those are well attended. And so, yeah, we're adding things as we go and trying to get people more involved.
So I kind of messed up here, Joe. Usually we talk about what we're sipping on, and I see you have a cigar. So what are you sipping and what are you smoking on this evening?
Well, I'm drinking Andy's Old Number 5, one of our bourbons, and 95% corn, 5% malted barley, done minimum of 12 months in a 10-gallon barrel.
Nice.
And bottled at 90 proof. And it's a good sipper. And I'm happen to be smoking a Perdomo Habano, which is a very good cigar, and which unfortunately I just let it go out, but I can take care of that.
Matt, what you got down there?
I just got back from granddaughter's ball game. I'm just drinking water. I'm being a good pappy tonight.
Man, this bottle of Evan Williams small batch is close to me, and I can't stay out of it. That American Hero Edition. That's a good bottle of bourbon, man. Again, if you ever see it on the shelf, it's a good one to grab.
Okay.
They do a real good job with that. I'm not a real big 1783 small batch fan, but they do a good job with this American Hero Edition. And I have to say, we did a tasting out there, and man, a couple. There was probably 3 or 4 of your bottles out there that were just really amazing.
Yeah.
The maple is amazing.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
There was another one. I don't remember what it was. It was a little higher proof, but I really like that. You got some really good bottles out there.
Good. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yes. Yeah, we have 4 bourbons, and of course varying a little bit in mash bill and aging time, barrel size, bottling proof. As I mentioned, Andy's Old Number 5, 90 proof. We have our 1820, which is a mix in the mash bill of corn and rye. So it has a little bit of rye. 20% of that mash bill is rye, and of course the malted barley. And that one is done in a 30-gallon barrel for a minimum of 24 months and bottled at 100 proof. And then next up the line would be our 7 Staleys, recognizing the 7th generation Staleys working here, which would be our daughter. And that one is very interesting. It's the mash bill's not complicated. 95% corn, 5% malted barley. It's done minimum of 24 months in the 30-gallon barrel, bottled at 107 proof. And we put some additional wooden spirals in the barrels to add some layers of flavor.
That's the bottle that's the one I really like. That had some really good depth and flavor to that. That's the one that I enjoyed a lot. Yes.
Yeah, that is a good one. Yeah, that's the one Missy likes. She drinks that one. And then the top end would be our American Bond House. There again, a very simple mash bill, 95% corn, 5% malted barley. Main difference between that one and the others is bottling proof. Bottled cask strength, 120 proof. So a lot of bang for the buck on that one.
And that was a good one as well. Yeah, that I felt like that would be a good sipper, but it would also hold up in a nice cocktail as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. Yes.
So had you distilled before you decided to dig into the family history and open up the distillery? Had you done a little bit on your own, or was it something that you made a career change, or how did that come about, Joe?
No, I was strictly on the consumer end of it.
Nice.
When we decided to go ahead with the distilling, I did a lot of reading, obviously, and a lot of studying, and I did about 4 days. I guess you could call it class time at up in New Richland, Wisconsin, at 45th Parallel Distillery. That gentleman had he was set up to teach distilling and so forth, start to finish. And even though it was totally different than what we do here, the way we do it, because it was all new and modern. It was a column still and push buttons, but at least I got familiar with the process and the smells, the sights and sounds of the way things should operate, and just came home and started.
Well, that's awesome. Well, that's awesome. So, do you source a lot of your grains locally?
Yes. Yeah, we obviously try to stay Ohio as much as possible, and we source our grain. It comes from about 50 miles from here, and they do a good job for us. In this business, as far as the grain is concerned, consistency is important, and they are consistent. It's nice. They deliver the grain. We can order a small amount, large amount, whatever we need. And so we've been working with them actually a short time. We right after we started here, we got connected with a local farmer that did a real good job for us, and had the capability of course, drying the grain, storing it, grinding and bagging, which was handy. And but last year he decided to step away from that aspect, and so we located some new people to work with, and that's worked out nicely. Yeah.
Well, good. Good. So, as far as what corn did you say you used? Is it a yellow, a white?
Well, yeah, it's basically a non-GMO yellow corn. Now we don't really have a lot of opportunity time-wise to experiment here, probably as much as we would like to, but we did a run almost about a year and a half ago now of blue corn, which was interesting. So that is going to be coming out of the barrel and bottled here probably this spring, maybe hopefully in the next month or so. So we'll have a nice party for that to have some people come, and we do have a waiting list for that, of course. And we check it occasionally, obviously, and it's coming along very nice. Then also, actually tomorrow tomorrow morning we're going over here a few miles away to a local mill, Bears Mill over at Greenville, south of Greenville, and we have purchased through them, a local farmer did some red corn, some Johnny Red, and they ground it for us, bagged it. So we're going to pick that up, and probably even later this week sometime we'll be starting on that process. Nice. So we, I think the end game here, you'd like to do everything at once, but you can't, don't have the time, and probably incorporate a lot of heirloom seed if we could locate enough. I think the next one probably that we'll be trying is connection through some friends of ours, a very old variety of rye called Rosen Rye, and we're going to get set up to do that, do a run of that, see how that turns out. So yeah, we like to experiment a little bit, but you have to remember we are traditionalists here. We're distilling the old-fashioned way and the old-fashioned methods and so forth. And but I think the heirloom grain would be the key for us here.
Well, I tell you what, there's a gentleman that we've made friends with over the time here through the podcast, Mr. Vaughn Davis up in Schoolhouse Farms, 1862 there. If you're looking for any kind of the heirloom grains, man, reach out to Vaughn. He's got a very wide variety. He's doing all kinds of stuff up there. He could probably help you out or steer you in a direction or whatever you're looking to do. But Vaughn is an amazing dude, man. He really, really is.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We'll check him out. Yeah. Yeah. I'd like to talk to him. Yes. Yeah. Thanks for the tips. Yeah.
Yeah. I know he delivers grain down this way to some guys, and you know, it's Rockford, Ohio is where he's at, and they've got I forget how many different varieties, and it's amazing. He'll definitely have what you're looking for, I'm sure.
He's got family in Troy, so he's in the area.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Good. Yeah.
So, can you talk about? Did I just see where you're doing a little collaboration with the Hainers? Can you talk about that at all?
Yes. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. He approached us about doing a collab with him, and we got the details worked out. And what we're doing, we've had several meetings where we have blended several of his whiskeys with several of ours, and trying to kind of hit the sweet spot or what we think would be acceptable. And so I think we've got it fairly well nailed down at this point. We're going to, it's the collab, since he's in the city, he's in Troy and we're in the country, obviously, we're going to kind of focus on that city country atmosphere, and he will be carrying the whiskey with one label on it, which would focus on the city aspects, and then we will have whiskey, that same whiskey, with another label that will emphasize the country aspects of it. So we're looking forward to that, just something new and different, and give somebody, give some people something to try. And you know, when you blend whiskeys, it can be kind of complicated. At least it is to me, because I don't have a lot of experience in that area. But I think we've come up with some pretty good blends, and a unique situation because two old distilleries with history.
Yeah, very rich history in the area. Absolutely, yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So when is this available now? Is this something that's going to be available in the future?
Yeah, probably. I think we're probably looking at the fall of this year. By the time we get organized, you know, you have to jump through the hoops. We have to get our labels approved, et cetera, and get our bottles picked out and so forth. But I think this fall would be a good time to introduce that, maybe for the holidays, even in Thanksgiving, Christmas, or sometime.
Nice. Yeah. Sounds like another reason to have an event out at the distillery. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Sounds like a collector's thing going on there at the bottles.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of neat the way like you said, the city and the country aspect on it, and the collab between the two. Yeah, that sounds like a neat project.
Yes. Yeah.
So you talk about your mash now. On any given day, how many gallons of mash do you think you have sitting? Do you have several different small mashes? Do you have one large mash sitting somewhere? Or
well, what we do, for instance, if we're going to be making our bourbon, that situation is a little bit different than a rye. We don't make as much rye here as we do bourbon, because the bourbon is kind of I guess you could call it the hot ticket right now. You know, bourbon has got a lot of focus on it, and a lot of whiskey drinkers either have never tried rye, or if they have, maybe they don't like it. Maybe they've started drinking bourbon and they don't make the switch. But when we mash in, what we do is to take advantage of our time and our resources. Is we have 4 mash ferment tubs, and 150 gallons each. But we will, once we pump that first mash tub into the into the beer stripper. We call it the first distillation, the singling operation. Once that tub is emptied, we can fill it again and mash back in. So we might, what's been happening the last few times that we have mashed in, we will, over a period of about 15 to 16 days, we will have continuous mash going because we're constantly emptying those tanks, putting it into the singler, and then refilling with mash. So we found that works best for us because it gives us ample production. And once the stills are warmed up, they may as well stay that way, you know. And right. So it's an economic situation too, not having to heat the still each time. So we do not presently have any mash going at the moment, but that probably will change once we get our red corn here tomorrow. We'll probably have, and a lot of times on tour day, which is Saturdays, we'll have mash going, or the stills will be operating, which is people enjoy. We can't guarantee that all the time, but majority of the time we are distilling. So we have to keep up with demand.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, they've got the little Ohio Distillers Trail going right now. So that's probably really kicked up, you know, the business and the upswing of people flowing through. So that's always a good thing. That was a neat thing to see that they got going on through the area.
Yes, yeah, we've had response to that, and we have had people because what they've done is when they come, they have to check in, so to speak, and type the code in. That helps them keep track of the people that have participated, so on and so forth. So yes, we have seen response from that. Yes.
Well, that's awesome. I know they've even got a lot of the moonshine distilleries on there now too. So I think it's gonna really expand everybody's business and get a little more foot traffic through all of, you know, everybody. And I think that's awesome. It's about time that Ohio was recognized in that aspect because, you know, let's be honest, there are a lot of distilleries in Ohio, and I didn't realize that till I became I got put in charge of the scheduling on this here podcast, and I kind of broadened the horizons a little bit. I started reaching out to several different places, and I started doing research, and there's distilleries all over Ohio, some I've never heard of. So
yes,
it's very interesting and intriguing, you know, the aspect of distilling and how big it's become. And there's a lot of, you know, even to this day, there's still distilleries still opening now. You know, the boom, you would think the boom has already happened and done, but it's not. There's still places, you know, still opening now. So I think that's awesome. It really, the beer end has kind of slowed down, and I think the distilleries have kind of picked up.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Yes. Yeah, and we've found, you know, we've made a lot of great friends since we've been in this business. And what we discovered was that there's no real competition going on because we all make different products from one another. We all have different markets and so forth. And everybody's very helpful. They can help in any way they do. And that's one nice aspect of this business is the people that we've met.
Yeah, and it kind of goes like with your partnership with Hainer. You know what I mean? It's one another helping each other. You know what I mean? Let's see what we can do together. Let's take a ride together. So
sure.
I think that's awesome that stuff's going on amongst the industry.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Very much so. Yes.
So how many days a week are you available for people to come in and purchase down there?
Our regular hours, Tuesday through Friday, 12 noon to 5 p.m. Saturday, 12 noon to 7 p.m. So Saturday, of course, we would call our quote busy day because that's tour tasting day. But we have tastings available throughout the week. People can just drop in for a tasting. No problem there. A lot of people do. And they also check out the retail store where we have a lot of, obviously, our product available, but also a lot of drink-related items. We have shot glasses, and we have rocks glasses, and Glencairn glasses, candles, all kinds of drink-related things. Yes.
That little gift shop is stuffed full of goodies.
Yes.
It really.
The more you look, the more you find.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So
my wife just wanders and wanders and wanders around in circles in there.
Yeah. So back to the stills back there. I know when I did a tour, I know you say your first set of distillation, you don't run at a real high proof. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Since we do it the old-fashioned way, which is the way the Staleys would have done it, and virtually everybody else then in that time frame, double copper pot distillation means obviously we have 2 pot stills. We distill everything twice. Various reasons for that, but the most important reason is that a pot still in and of itself, by itself, is not extremely efficient. It's pretty good at what it does. It's not great. So the still behind me on my right, it would be our singling still, first distillation. And we put our ferment in there, turn the heat on, which in our case is propane. Thankfully, we don't use wood like the Staleys, but we do have direct fire on the stills. And the product that still produces is not real exciting in terms of taste and so forth because it is extremely low proof. And usually in the neighborhood of 10 to 20% by volume, which is going to be 20 to 40 proof. We'll be in that bracket somewhere, depending on what we're producing. So that's run off into a receiving tub. That product is pumped up into a holding tank behind the second distillation, the still on my left. And that product is pumped into the tank, and when the tank's full, it's drained into the still, which is the second distillation, which is called the doubler, or the finished still, the whiskey still. And the product that comes out there is much different than the first distillation, because what we do is, through the process, we don't actually increase the proof of the product. We maintain you have to remember, we're boiling off the alcohol. So we're maintaining the same amount of alcohol, but we're getting rid of the product we don't want, the water and so forth that's left. So what we do is we reduce, let's say, for instance, one of our runs or our batches would be 4 of our mash ferment tubs, which would be 600 gallons total liquid. 10% of that is going to be liquid alcohol, okay, 60 gallons. So what we do in the first distillation, we boil off that product. But as I mentioned, the pot still is not especially efficient or precise. And so we are also getting a lot of other elements in there, water vapor, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So we reduce that 600 gallons to 100 gallons of liquid. But that 100 gallons of liquid still contains the original 60 gallons of alcohol. So once that 100 gallons is dumped into the doubler, the whiskey still, and it is distilled, we then boil off that 60 gallons that we started with in our mash ferment. Even though we had 600 gallons total liquid,
right,
60 gallons was alcohol. So that's what we end up with. That would be a typical batch or run for us. And then depending on what that product is going to be, if it's going to be obviously one of our bourbons, because we barrel our bourbons at different proof, because we bottle them at different proofs, that product out of that doubler still will be, we call it cutting, using distilled water, so that we can bring the proof down close to our bottling proof. And that's the proof that goes into the barrel. And so we end up with actually more than 60 gallons, but that's because we are adding water to bring it to the
proof down
to bottling proof. Yes, correct. So hope I didn't confuse too many people with that.
No. So with your method of distillation, is there a point where you won't get any higher than that? Is there a high point on your proof that's all you're going to get? Or does it vary? Does it fluctuate sometime? I mean, depending on the weather, the atmosphere, the heat, humidity. I mean, does any of that come into play with the way you distill?
Yes, it does, in the sense that, actually starting at the beginning, with our mash, which our conversion from starch to sugar, under certain weather conditions, that might be less than what we call normal or what we like, because everything we do here in preparation for distillation, our mash and ferment, the environment is not controlled. It's open top. It's open to the atmosphere and the weather. So the weather is a factor. As far as the how prolific that mash conversion will be, and then that also obviously affects how prolific the conversion to alcohol will be from the sugar. So yes, it does vary. To answer your question, long answer to a short question.
That's okay.
But as far as distillation proof, we have certain legal ramifications with distillation proof with things such as bourbon. It can only be distilled at a maximum proof. And but depending on what we're making, we have obtained out of our doubler over here, our finish still, we can obtain 170 proof pretty consistently if we need to.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. We had a question over here. Do you ever proof with sweet water?
No.
The lower proof?
Yeah, well, we experimented with that a little bit early on, especially with our rye, and the problem being was our productivity here, the amount we can produce. We just didn't have enough to do that. Okay. So no, we do not do that. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
So when you barrel, you have a couple different bottles that you put on the shelf. Where do you, on your higher proof, where is your set? Where do you try to put it in the barrel at? I know you're going to get a variance on that. Is there you try to keep something at a certain point when you're putting it in? Yes,
we do. Since we don't age a long time, our maximum we shoot for around 24 months in the 30-gallon barrel. We have some. In fact, I think we have some now that's been in about 2.5 years. And then the 10-gallon barrel is 12 months minimum, and usually a little bit longer, maybe 14, 15 months. Aging short time, we don't really lose proof like we would if we aged. You get up in the 6, 8, 10 year, you're going to lose proof in that barrel.
Right.
Because the alcohol evaporates quicker through the wood than the water. And so what we do is, let's say, for instance, our 1820 bourbon bottled at 100 proof, it is going to go in the barrel a few degrees higher than that, maybe 105, 106, around there. And then what we have found through experience is when we dump that barrel, let's say that's a 30-gallon barrel, so it's in minimum of 24 months. So if it comes out at 24 months, it's going to be real close to what we put it in that barrel. It might lose a point, but usually not. So that helps us predict production, how many bottles we're going to get per barrel, which is important. Because, this business, in the case of the 30-gallon barrels, we're 2 years out. What we make this week going to be ready 2 years from now. So you want to have a pretty good concept, an idea of what you're going to be able to bottle in 2 years.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. What's happened is what we found, which is a good thing, as far as predictability is concerned. We don't really have a roller coaster ride here as far as sales. It just kind of keeps on just getting a little more each month. It just, we just consistently, and by year end, we have a pretty good bump. And so that helps us immensely in predicting what we make, and because we know what we're going to sell. And that's very important.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So on a personal note, what's your preference? Do you like an older bourbon? Do you like, do you have anything that you've barreled yourself that you're sitting and waiting on? You know what I mean? Do you like a good age on a bourbon?
Not necessarily. No, we don't have anything that we're aging long term. That might be something we'll get into a little later on down the road. I, of course, drink primarily our whiskey, and I like the Andes Old Number 5 and the Bond House both. They have the same mash bill. They start the same. The process obviously is the same, but the main difference is the aging time and the proof. Andes, 10-gallon barrel, 12-month usually, 90 proof. The Bond House, 30-gallon barrel, 24 months and 120 proof. So I drink both of those pretty consistently.
Nice.
About the only time I drink that I'll partake of another whiskey is, for instance, visit one of my sons-in-law, and he's a bourbon aficionado, and he has about anything you can imagine and some you've never heard of. And so I'll try his, and which he has good taste in bourbon, and so he has very good bourbon. And that's about the only time I'll drink anything different. Yeah.
It's funny. The night that I was there we popped in and did a tour. Chris, I think it was Chris Thompson from another podcast was there, and he actually had brought a bottle of Alan Bishop.
Yes.
You guys were enjoying a bottle of Alan Bishop's bourbon.
Yes. Yeah, we didn't drink all that, but almost.
Yeah. Was that his Spirit of French Lick? Is that where a bottle that was from? Is that what that was?
Yeah, that was a barrel pick they did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a barrel pick. We just had him on our podcast, and I'm really looking forward to going and checking out his new place.
Yes. Yeah. We Missy follows him online and kind of keeps up with what he's doing, and he's a busy guy.
Yeah.
That he is.
Yeah. So do you do like barrel picks out there? Can someone get a hold of you and sample and pick their own barrel? Do you offer that yet, or is it something that you may do?
It's interesting you brought that up, because through the years we've had various bourbon groups or work groups or whatever approach us about that very thing, but it never evolved beyond just the talking and so forth. But here recently, we had a bourbon group, a local group, and they got together. They did a barrel pick on our Andes Old Number 5, And that was a good time. They came, and of course, we'd already dumped the barrel for them, filtered it, had it ready to bottle. So they got to bottle their own whiskey, label it, wax the bottle, and so forth. And that was a good time. And I would like to do that again if anybody's interested.
Well, there you go.
We would more than accommodate. Yes.
Well, there you go, everybody. Joe's putting it out there. If anybody's interested in a barrel pick, please contact him, and I'm sure he will give you all the details, and it'll be a good time. I'm sure it'll be a good time.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, currently we have about 130 barrels aging in the rick house, and so they have a few to pick from.
Well, that's awesome. Well, that's awesome. Well, Joe, I think we've taken about enough of your time tonight. I really appreciate you coming on, man. You're awesome.
Thank you.
Your place is awesome. Give everybody your details once again, where you're located, your hours, and all that stuff, so they can stop out.
Yes. Yeah, we're on a farm here. We're not in the city, and our address is New Carlisle, which is about 4 miles from us. We are geographically actually between Tip City and New Carlisle, and we're on Staley Road, 7095 Staley Road, and we do have a big web presence, Indian Creek Distillery, and Missy updates that. It has, of course, all of our pertinent info. You can schedule tours on that site. And she's also on Instagram and Facebook, which she updates regularly, and to keep people apprised of what we're doing here, when we're doing it, so on and so forth. So we invite everybody to, we covered 3 areas here. Obviously, we cover history, and we cover whiskey, and we cover whiskey history. So, if anybody's interested in any of those, you need to come and see us.
Absolutely. It's beautiful out there. I highly recommend it. I'm mad that it has taken me so long to get out there and check your place out. And like I said, you'll probably see me at several events this spring, summer, fall. And you'll probably see the whole Still Talking crew. Big Easy, Matt, and Sean. I know about Sean. He's a busy man, being a celebrity and all. But we'll try to get the group out there. We like to hang out as a group and enjoy stuff like that. So you'll probably definitely see us out there here a little bit here, Joe.
Oh yeah, it's real close for me.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, our special events that we have, they'll be posted online so people can check those out, because some of those events are ticketed events and limited number. And so they might want to check some of those. We've got a lot of things going on this summer.
Well, nice. I know I look forward to it, and I'm sure Matt and the boys, I'm sure they do as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, good. Yeah,
well,
thank
Joe,
you.
I appreciate you coming on.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Next week, we have the one and only Firehouse Shine. John Bentz will be on with us.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So it'll be a good time.
Oh, yeah.
But once again, I appreciate you, Joe. Thank you for coming on. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Yep. See you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.